Well, Keith, great to see you. At Christmas, people talk about reflection. It's a time to look back on cherished memories and appreciate the people and the experiences that have shaped us. Would that fit into the way that the year has started for you from June up to Christmas?
Even before that, really, I cherish coming to this football club in the previous role I was in, and the day-to-day that you have here and who you interact with. And then obviously when I got the job in June, that elevated things ever so slightly. And I've been very fortunate to have the year that I've had, really. A lot of support, a lot of belief, obviously, in the key decision makers at the football club as to me being the one taking the club into the next chapter.
We know you from Sky. Obviously, you worked with many of us during a period there, and you always were very clear that coaching and management was the route that you wanted to go down. But at the beginning of June, how close did you feel you were to being a Premier League manager?
And probably not that close. I felt like I was enjoying what I was doing. I had a couple of discussions with the club in and around early June. Got told that there might be an opportunity to discuss what might happen if Thomas left, and subsequently cancelled a couple of holidays and just started to work on what I felt it would look like and feel like, and put a presentation together. But it did happen pretty quickly, I must say. One from start to end around the decision of me being the next head coach. It was a pretty smooth process and a pretty rapid one, really, in the grand scheme of things. And then we just cracked on with plans for pre-season and the season that was going to unfold. I suppose that the concerns around me would have been, what am I going to be like as the head coach, naturally from everybody, I suppose. I think for me personally, though, it was a huge advantage because I knew everybody. I knew all the players, I knew all their traits, I knew all their habits, I knew the frustrations that some of them would have had around whatever went on previously, what they liked, what they didn't like, how ambitious they are, how much they push each other. So to have that inside knowledge on the football club, I felt was priceless, really.
And listen, I touched on the fact, and I don't want to make light of it, you were very much part of our team at Sky at one point. Having that knowledge from the other side of the camera, having now to deal with the likes of me and others, how much did that help as well, your view, and able to deal with the pressures of Premier League management?
Listen, the questions are very different, aren't they? I think what it did do is just made me pretty comfortable sitting in front of a camera and having to think a little bit quicker. Don't have the luxury of being on your sofa and contemplating what answer you would give, so it puts you into real life pressurized scenarios, I suppose. But the dynamics of the questions are obviously very, very different. This is a nice friendly interview, whereas not all of them can be, because everybody's got their job to do.
Let's start with the opening game of the season, because it wasn't an easy ask. You were going up to Nottingham Forest. There was a lot of change going on there, a lot of expectation. You clearly didn't get the result you wanted. What was your thought process immediately after that result?
I put it in a box pretty quickly around scenarios around the game, where we were, what I didn't want my team to look like, which was what it looked like in the first half. But again, I was quick to understand why it happened. Even Mikael Damsgaard having to pull out halfway through the training session the day before the game because his wife went into labour. So there was a lot of different scenarios around the game, and that led to part of the reasons why we performed like that. We were still very much in the early days of building a team and a squad, and with a disrupted pre-season. So I was able to understand the why pretty quickly.
We all talk about, don't we, reaction. To get that victory over Aston Villa, who've now proved to be a team that's challenging for the title in front of your own fans, was that the bedrock that then sparked other big performances? I'm talking about the likes of, obviously, Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle.
Just felt it was a needed result off the back of the performance more so than the result against Nottingham Forest. The result obviously was pretty disappointment, but the performance just wasn't what we're about, what I want my team to be about. The game against Aston Villa was always going to be a very difficult game. Extremely well coached team, some outstanding individuals that really test you in terms of your structure without the ball. So we knew it would be really, really difficult. And the reality is we just had to grind out a result. That's where we were at that stage of the season. So I was really proud of what we were able to produce on that day. And it was a really big result for the group in general.
You know, I mentioned those performances. You did beat Man United, you did beat Liverpool, and you did beat Newcastle. For a team that's evolving, how big are those results against teams that people will expect to be at the top of the table and challenging, with the greatest respect, bigger squads than yours, bigger budgets than yours?
I think it's huge. I think you can get some of those results and feel like you should be getting them. I'm not sure we should, but I think it just really shows the belief and confidence that and the fearless nature in which we go about playing the game. And those particular performances and results, I feel, were just steps forward, huge steps forward in terms of performance, evolution of the team, individuals in terms of how they played within those games, and the growth of the group and the dynamics of the team. I felt made huge strides within some of those performances that set down a marker really and put us in a place where we just felt very comfortable about competing against anyone really.
You, like every other club, have got a busy fixture list, a mixture of Premier League and Carabao Cup for yourself. How are you approaching this period with the resources that you have?
Again, in a very positive mindset. We go into the first game against Leeds, quarter-final of the Cup against Man City, and then a really big game against Wolves before Christmas, and then we could roll into the hectic schedule of Christmas, New Year's. There's the opening few games in January where it will be non-stop, and we'll get tested with a couple of players going to AFCON. It's a time of year where injuries tend to kick in traditionally. We need to be mindful of that. We need to rotate the squad at the right times, make sure we're fresh, hungry, and we'll absolutely have to utilise the squad over the coming weeks, and we will, because we're in a good place on the front.
You're going to get your first winter transfer window, January, which is a window a lot of people have all sorts of viewpoints on. I mean, is that something where you find yourself at the moment? I mean, you're only 6 points off the top six.
Yeah, I think we're always medium to long term in our thinking around everything, I suppose. Recruitment is no different. The last window obviously was tricky. We lost some big players, which everybody knows, and I think it wasn't right to replace one of those players if it wasn't for the right player. So we've always been preparing for this window, but it is a tricky window. Everybody knows that. We need to just be very, very considered and calculated in terms of who we go for, if it feels right for the club, the price is right, all the different factors involved in a transfer, the players' desire to come, are they available, is the time right for them? There's a lot of different factors go into making a deal happen, but certainly the club are always looking to enhance the squad.
Well, we talk about Christmas being a time to reflect, New Year's a time to look forward. And what would be the things that you would learn from and carry forward and hope to embrace and do better in 2026?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. A lot. I feel like I am a learner. I feel like I've had to learn a lot, even on and in the job, for obvious reasons, because I haven't been a head coach. So as well prepared as I feel as I was for this role, it constantly tests you. You're managing a lot of different people. How you deal with their emotions, their issues on a daily basis is important. Always comes from a place of pure respect. We didn't set targets in terms of points, league positions. I feel like we are a club, and certainly the way I put it to the players in pre-season when we first got together was we just have to have a relentless pursuit of progression.
You mentioned a couple of times about players you've lost, but the interesting thing about Brentford, you always seem to find somebody, particularly in a striking area. I think that's probably more by design than good luck. But Thiago, I mean, just tell us a little bit about him. This season, I've had the pleasure of giving him Player of the Match award a couple of times. He seems an insatiable character, but also when I did it was the interview after the Newcastle game, incredibly humble about where he's come from in his background and what drives him. Is he your type of player?
Yeah, he's my type of player. He's my type of person. He's exactly what I just described, that relentless pursuit of progression and improvement. Can be hard on himself at times, probably too hard on himself, which I don't think is a bad thing. Yeah, the club have that knack. It comes from that medium to long-term thinking. He was supposed to be a big part of the squad, obviously, last season, but unfortunately injuries played a part in that and he wasn't able to play as many minutes, nowhere near the amount of minutes that he could have and should have. So that made it even more difficult, really, to be able to impact the league, the most demanding league in the world, the way he has. But as you can imagine, he fits into the fabric of this club really, really well. And he's blossomed, hasn't he? He's taken the league by the scruff of the neck, and that's the way he plays the game.
And listen, I want to finish on two light-hearted notes. We're a little bit away off the King's speech yet, but if you were addressing the nation of Brentford fans, what's your festive message at this moment looking forward into 2026?
Our fans are pretty special. I've said this on numerous occasions. The game is always, and always has been, always will be about players and fans, and that doesn't ring any more true as to when you see our fans connect with our players and vice versa. There's a realism about our fans. There's a humility about our fans because they are very, very educated on where the club was and the steps that it's taken to get to where it is now and the lofty heights that the football club has got itself into. So yeah, let's keep that connection between players, fans and staff alike.
And very finally, I know now you're at the hoi polloi of Premier League management. You get driven around all these luxury coaches, chauffeured around. But let me be fair. Is the Brentford bus driver better than the chauffeur that drove you the length and breadth of the country on the EFL? Or have I got a chance, if by any chance I'm looking for work in the next couple of months?
You've got every chance. They've pulled a couple of sickies lately, so you've got every chance. They've never heard of a certain app that can control traffic congestion, which really helps. I find at times where the traffic cranks up, they haven't seemed to heard about that one, so that's slightly old school. So it's yeah, there might be a little opportunity for you.
Well, I definitely don't rely on your navigating skills, because I remember in Bristol you took me all the way down the dock and we nearly went off the pier when you insisted we were going in the right direction, but I'll forgive you for that. Listen, it's been great to talk to you. Have a wonderful festive season with your family and everyone at Brentford, and hopefully look forward to seeing you soon, pal.
Thanks, Craig. I appreciate that. Take care, pal.